Hello, I am Alex LaBelle, and I'm doing a review on my Entrepreneurial Self, a BDC test that was to tell people how they scaled compared to the other entrepreneurs in the world. I'll start right off the bat by saying that I have a script, but I don't really read strictly to it. I usually more use it more as like a sticky note than I do a word for word. I will submit that to at the end of the presentation. So let's start off right away. My motivations. I scored a 55 out of a 62 average. That's not quite great when you look at it in a broad scale. I think that it's explainable though, in the sense that I'm not really motivated by the same sense as a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of people see entrepreneurship as this idea to make money, which it is. I'm definitely invested and want to make money, but it's not my only reason for doing it. I have a lot of others, such as like personal perspective, social perspective on it. Um, how I would go about things might not be the same as your typical entrepreneur. Where in class we talked about if you need to have an original idea to actually even be an entrepreneur, and maybe you don't, but I will, and I would want to be one of the people who have my own personal idea on how this should go. Next was attitude. Aptitude. My aptitude ranked 64 to 67. I'm not really too worried about that. That's pretty close to begin with. Aptitude being like the skills I have and the way I present myself, my ability to pick up skills. I think if there was any uh, predisposition that I needed, I could totally get it if I wanted it or if I needed it. I think that the skills I have now are quite good, but if I ever needed more, always willing. My attitude towards things was a 36, sorry, out of 37. 36 is pretty good, I'd say. Again, pretty average. I run the line like there with everybody else, where I think my experiences and how I am with my attitude, not taking. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't take the precautionary steps where they maybe should. Slowing down and sometimes thinking towards the future might be a better idea. I definitely do that quite a bit. And some might say that short sightedness might make me miss out on current opportunities, but I truly don't believe that. So I think if I had to, I would land just as much as the next guy in terms of how that goes. Need for success. I scored a 13 out of 17. I disagree strongly. I think that was quite wrong. I think maybe the test results say as they do, but I don't know if that's exactly how I'd feel about it uh, compared to others. To say that like your successes should be top of the like, well, first you have to decide what's success. I think a lot of people would say that profits for success. It's visual and it feels good to make money. But as a computer engineering student, I can totally say that most of the technological feats are actually non-privatized, and I think they're massive successes. Look at all the open source code that people have for things like video editing, game development, object-oriented programming languages. There's tons, and I think these are successes that instead of making them privatized and hiding them behind things, you should make them public and see what you can do with that, and then make a company based off of your expertise on it. To monopolize, say, one thing just because you can do it is, again, not the type of entrepreneur I want to be. It'd be like the same way Mercedes Benz's or BMW are with their maintenance of the vehicle. You pay monthly, but you could buy just as well any other vehicle who does maintenance on the cars, or you do your maintenance on yourself, and you might do better than even the manufacturer. So that's more how I see it. Power and control. I am pretty well the same as everybody else. I think out of 3 out of 4, that's pretty good. Yes, I want to have control over my own life, and yes, I want to be, I want to have that power that comes with being an entrepreneur that's successful. But I wouldn't say it's something that I'm like making my number one reason as for why I became an entrepreneur or why I want to be one. Ambition. I scored a 14 out of 16. Not bad. It's about on the line. I think that being ambitious is one of the biggest things to being an entrepreneur. If you don't have ambition, I don't know why you're going into this space. You can make tons of money doing other things, working for someone. That sounds terrible when you say it aloud, like, oh, you should work for someone. You could work for someone and make tons of money and still be very happy, maybe even with less liability on your name. So that's not a bad thing in my mind, but it's not something that I personally would do. I think I have the ambition to start my own company and stuff like that. For freedom, I score 13 out of 12. What can I say? Grew up in Canada, one of the lands of the free, one of many. I like having my own freedom. I like doing what I want to do. I don't like being lorded over. I hate when people tell me that I have to do things just because they said so and because they're the ones to say it. I'm fine to listen to people. There's plenty of laws that are in place that I have to listen to regardless, that I agree, and there's good reason for them. The public has came to a consensus that that's a good idea. And I definitely agree sometimes. Sorry. Determination. I scored an 11 out of 14, and I personally very much disagree with this, and this is where I brought some of my questioning into the actual validity of the testing. I know this isn't that scientific in nature, but I'm just saying if I were to look at this from a scientific standpoint, I'd say determination is probably the difference between a failed and a non-failed business. You can be determined on anything. Sometimes you need to know when to fail. Sometimes you need to know when to step up. Not all businesses take their goal and make it a reality, and not all goals are obtainable. I'm not saying that that is a bad thing. Sometimes the climb to get something that is unobtainable is half the fun. But to say that my determination or perseverance is less than the average, I personally don't know how I feel about that. But to take from it what it says, I think that it would be wise for me to sometimes push forward and maybe commit myself to how I feel. I feel like this result also conflicts to some of the others down the line. For example, self-confidence, where I scored a 15 out of 13. Well, it's very hard to be self-confident if you can't back it up. If you can't back it up. And that's where I feel like your determination and your experiences come into play. I think that sometimes the difference between a good leader and a bad leader is one who can sit there and not know the future, but confidently say that this is the direction I'm going to take with all the information I've been given. I think a good entrepreneur does that. Tolerance towards ambiguity, 19 out of 19. I think that's the same as everybody else. Ambiguity in a project usually kills it, no matter what it is, be it entrepreneurship, science, game development, anything. Just if you don't have a direction, then yeah, you aren't going to go anywhere. That's how it works. That's probably why I rode the line so evenly, even if I was in and around, where I had a couple points here and there. I wouldn't really be worried about it. I think that's one of the more undefined points of the test, where it says tolerance towards ambiguity. If you were working under a company and you made a new product line, I'm sure they wouldn't want to go head first if you just said, I think it works because it does. Same idea. Creativity. I scored a 19 out of 21. And I think that sounds about right. I have pretty creative ideas that I hope to see to fruition. That's why I do the things I do. That's why I work the way I am. The idea is that when you have a creative idea, you should try to be the one to make it come to fruition. And that requires getting the skills to do that. I think I have tons of experiences in ways that, especially in the computer science field, which is where I would ever be taking my entrepreneurial capabilities. I think that seems about right. I feel creative. Everyone else seems to be creative, especially when you're being an entrepreneur. Although it's not needed, I think it's a great trait to have. Belief in destiny. That is a very foolish thing to do. I think just in general, it's a pretty negative mindset to sit there and say, this is destined to happen. That's what people who can't face reality say. That's such an avoidance tactic that, of course, I feel like all the other entrepreneurs, or majority of them, agree with me, saying that there is a destiny that you are streamlined for, that no matter what your actions are doing and no matter what happens, there's only one future. That's pretty discrediting towards all your efforts. That's such a Neolithic mindset to keep. I'm not saying bad things don't happen. Tons of bad things happen, but sometimes hitting getting hit with those roadblocks and how someone handles them, that is the difference between a good and a bad leader, just in general. I think you don't even need to be an entrepreneur to say that. And then action-oriented, I scored a 15 out of 17. Yeah, we're not politicians here, we're entrepreneurs. Yeah, you do it or you don't. Being the one to take action because of what your words are, that's something I was growing up with, being in Peterborough, small town. Take responsibility for yourself. That's what action-oriented really means for me. If a game, how I would do it in my own personal means would be like, if I had to ever foreclose a business, my own or something else, I would likely be the one to say that that's on me. That's not, maybe that is a condition of outside factors, but being able to work with those and the business that I've already conducted, all those relationships I've built, that's still important. A great example would be Unity, the game engine. They came out with a new pricing model, destroyed their company. World's largest game engine just got thrown down the garbage because they got greedy, essentially, and they just couldn't keep true to their words. That's how you kill your business. Another company like Steam, on the other hand, says that if they ever went out of business, not to say that this has happened yet, and hopefully they continue doing business, but if they ever were, they release the DRMs for their games. So you have a company that says that they're always looking out for the consumer while charging them more, while on the other hand you have someone like Steam who says that even in the foreclosure of their business, they still have the consumer in the mindset, releasing all the DRMs. That's basically what I'd want to be. I think taking accountability for your actions is a very good trait in general. In conclusion, I think most of these scores are about right. It was a good test. It was fun. I learned a lot. And I think there's things that I could definitely work on. But to sit there and say that the test is perfect is also not possible. I feel like it lacks some of the groundings and basis that an entrepreneur might actually need. Like, say things like problem solving, or your ability to work with others. I feel like entrepreneurs, they do need to be confident, and they do need to, which was mentioned before, they do need to have that level of certainty, but they can't be so certain that they're not humble, and they can't hear others. You have to ride the line, and that line can be tricky, but that's what makes a good entrepreneur a good entrepreneur. Again, after this, though, I feel more motivated than ever, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with this in the future. That was me, Alex Bell, reporting on my findings. Thank you very much.